Welcome back to episode 12 of Rebooking the WWF in 1992. It's been a little while since I've posted an episode, but we're back. And we are heading towards Saturday night's main event, which is taking place on February 8th, 1992. And kind of a reminder not only for you, but for myself. This is what we're kind of building towards. We've got Bret Hart and Rick Martel for the Intercontinental title in a submissions match. Of course, Bret Hart is our champion. Papa Shango and Coco Beware, with Shango abducting Frankie the parrot and kind of just making Coco, making his life miserable. The tag team titles, Legion of Doom, the champions, against the Beverly Brothers. And the main event of Saturday night's main event, as it stands right now, will be the Mega Powers against Jake the Snake Roberts and The Undertaker. And of course now I have planned, at least, for the Patriot to make his in-ring debut at Saturday night's main event as well. And speaking of the Patriot, he's part of some debuts that are coming to the company. We have the Outlaws, which is a foursome of John Bradshaw, Tracy Smothers, Steve Armstrong, and Bill Irwin. And then we also have vignettes playing for Men on a Mission to make their debut, which is, of course, Mabel and Mo. Our next pay-per-view is WrestleMania 8, which is on April 5th at the Hoosier Dome. And right now we have basically a triple main event that is going to be carrying the show, with Sid and Hogan for the WWF World Title, Flair and Piper having basically a grudge match going on, and of course Savage and Roberts, which we tentatively have planned to be inside of a steel cage. And then other notes that are probably worthwhile here. A devastating injury with Shawn Michaels. He broke his neck, and he is out until May of 1993. Just absolutely devastating. The Mountie has been getting over quite a bit in this game, so there's potential there for maybe having to shift plans around for him, but we'll see how that goes. I like the Mountie personally, so if we have to make him a bigger deal, I have really no objection to that. And then we're also looking to potentially push Owen Hart significantly sooner than he had in real life. So on this episode, we have two shows. We have Primetime Wrestling and then WWF Live event, which is at the Garden, Madison Square Garden. And I believe we'll be able to see our merch sales and stuff like that. Our finances will be updated. We'll be able to see kind of where the fans are spending their money in that aspect. So I'm not going to drag this out any longer. We're going to get right into the show and see how it translates in the game. And if you guys have compliments or complaints, feel free to let me know in the comments. We're going to start off Primetime Wrestling with Owen Hart defeating Reno Riggins with a bridging German suplex. Just a showcase. You'll notice that maybe the lengths of these matches are a little longer than previous episodes, because I guess it's just going to help with the work rate, which has been a battle, to say the least, so far in 92. The Beverly Brothers defeating Superfly Jimmy Snuka and Greg the Hammer Valentine when Blake pinned Valentine after the head spike. Obviously, we're building the Beverly Brothers for a match against LOD. Snuka and Valentine are two guys that were not renewing their contracts, so we'll have them go over some legends or veterans before Saturday night's main event in a couple weeks. Jake the Snake Roberts has a plan. He's interviewed, and he says that he has a plan to make sure that Elizabeth is not in danger. And he introduces his new friend, The Undertaker. He continues to say that if Elizabeth were to show her face anywhere near him and tempt him to be the man he doesn't want to be, then The Undertaker will not think twice about making Liz an afterthought. Now, during this promo, both Paul Bearer and Undertaker are there, and they make a face suggesting that they're not really aligned with such threats towards Elizabeth. So that's where this ties into Mega Powers against Roberts and Taker at Saturday night's main event. Coco Beware defeating Hercules following a missile dropkick. We then go, and of course, and now during that match with Hercules, that goes 8 minutes. We're still playing into Coco being frantic about Frankie. So he's going to continue to vocalize that. He'll be just yelling out towards the backstage area, Frankie. Just that paranoia that that Papa Shango has given him is still on display here. We go to a hype video promoting the Patriot. He's going to be shown standing in front of various American monuments, which are the Statue of Liberty, Washington Monument, and Mount Rushmore, really leaning into that patriotic aspect of his character. Mean Gene interviews the WWF World Champion Sid Justice about why he attacked Andre the Giant after winning the Royal Rumble and thus becoming the WWF World Champion. Sid tells Gene that he did it because Andre wasn't going to steal his moment in the sun. Andre is the past. Sid is the now and the future. Just like Andre Hogan is the past. Hulkamania is all news. Sid is not a man to be in the shadows of others. He is the star. He is the man. He is the WWF World Champion. So, obviously, we're kind of saying the new generation of stars. Sid is leading that charge. Hulkamania is dead. Old news. Andre the Giant. I mean, it's been years since he's actively competed. It's his moment to shine, and he's going to take out the old guard, essentially. Texas Tornado defeating Jason Knight with the discus punch. About 6 minutes of action there. We then go to the devastating news here, where Mean Gene conducted an interview with the WWF president, Jack Tunney, and Tunney reports that unfortunate news that Shawn Michaels has, in fact, broken his neck and will be out of action for over a year. And he knows that people think, he knows that, how people think of Michaels. They can think about him however they want, but nobody in the WWF wishes this kind of injury on anyone. He also notes that Marty Jannetty will be making his return at Saturday night's main event, and I have to write that down because I might have forgotten that, but that's why this is good. We go to the Nasty Boys defeating Chris Kanyon and Perry Saturn, with Knobs pinning Kanyon after a splash off the top rope. We're just going to have to try to build these guys up after the Royal Rumble. Losing to LOD, of course. The Intercontinental Champion, Bret Hart, defeating Rex King with a sharpshooter. We then go to Rick Martel cutting a promo saying that Bret Hart got lucky with his fluke win at the Rumble, but at Saturday night's main event, there will be no fluke for the model. He has perfected the Quebec Crab and knows that he's going to make Hart submit and rightfully take the Intercontinental Championship. We then lead into Big Boss Man defeating the Barbarian in about 7 minutes with a Boss Man Slam. Tatanka victorious over Boo Bradley with the end of the trail. And we go to another interview, this time with Roddy Piper. Mean Gene talking to him regarding Ric Flair. Piper tells Gene that one thing that drives him nuts about Flair is that Flair is a complete phony. And he notes that he remembers Flair as the chubby brunette-haired kid, but he saw someone do the Nature Boy better, and he stole the persona. Piper isn't a fraud. He's never had to pay money to be called a champion. Isn't that right, Nature Boy? Quote unquote, of course. Piper tells Gene that he's going to prove to the world that Flair is a phony, and he wants to do it on the biggest stage of all, which is going to be WrestleMania 8. And then our featured bout, main event, I guess you could say, for primetime wrestling, is Macho Man Randy Savage defeating Haku with a top rope elbow drop. So I feel like this is a pretty productive show. We're advancing Sid and Hogan with the whole reason behind it, kind of drive that heat onto Sid. We're teasing this alliance of sorts, but it's, Undertaker may be dead inside, but maybe he even still has morals. Certainly Paul Bearer would. So we're kind of suggesting that might not be a good plan for Jake Roberts. And then we're really kind of driving the intensity with Piper and Flair. I mean, calling somebody a phony and noting that technically Flair paid money to hold the NWA World title. I mean, that sounds pretty frustrating. And added promotion here for Hitman and Martel for their submissions match. So I think for the most part, we touched base on pretty much all of our major programs in one way or another. So I'm not too upset about this. This seems like a decent time spent for primetime wrestling. So let's see how it translates to our audience here in Pro Wrestling Sim. Let's start the show. All right, we got 2.5 stars here for Owen and Reno, and it says that with a bit more time, they could have pulled off a better match. That doesn't surprise me, but I don't think I would have gone like 8 minutes for Reno and Owen. So that's I'm actually pretty surprised that was that good of a match, but we'll take it. Obviously, crowd reaction not that high because Owen's just starting to build steam on his own, and then it's Reno Riggins, so people aren't going to be jumping out of their seat for him. 1.5 for the Beverly Brothers defeating Snuka and Valentine. Crowd interest is a bit higher. This makes me feel like they're getting over a little bit. Higher crowd reaction. So their eventual match with LOD on Saturday Night's Main Event might be pretty worthwhile. Jake Roberts promo, 84%. All right, good. So pretty much everybody benefited, although Macho Man did not in North America. But everywhere else, they pretty much all improved there. Coco Beware getting 0.5 star, defeating Hercules. Pretty good crowd reaction as well here. Okay, so crowd reactions are not too bad. Yeah, Hercules, again, Hercules is another guy that we're not renewing. So these dips in popularity are not going to bother me too much. Patriot. Handle character changes. What do we do here? I don't know. I'm not going to do that yet because I don't know what we did for that. Yeah, all right, good. So that's positive there too. 81%. It's pretty good. 95% for Sid revealing why he did what he did. So that's going continually strong. It's good to see. A dud for Tornado. Of course, now Tornado also recently changed his style to be more of an entertainer than like a work rate guy. So there's that. 52%. A bit lower than our previous bouts. Maybe they just have to get accustomed to his new wrestling style. The Shawn Michaels reveal that he's hurt, 71%. And, it helped him, I guess. Helped Shawn Michaels. Of course, they don't know the context of the injury, so that's fine. Nasty Boys, 48%. Jerry Sagg's performance was much worse than usual. Okay. Might be interesting to see why that's the case. 48%. And I feel like, again, this is probably because they're just coming off of a loss on pay-per-view. I mean, that's my justification of it. Maybe the crowd isn't really buying into their deal right now after they've lost to LOD twice in the span of, 4 months or so, 2 of which were on pay-per-view, technically. Bret Hart, 2.5 stars against Rex King. A bit more time. They could have done better. Bret Hart continuing to rise up the ranks here for popularity. That's pretty good increase all the way around. Crowd reaction not too bad. Good to see that. 69% for Martel. We might be losing a bit of interest here between these two. Looks like Bret lost very little. So his gain from the previous match is still there. But this might be a sign that Saturday Night's Main Event would be a good time to kind of wrap it up between these two. Boss Man and Barbarian. I think that's the highest crowd reaction yet. 1.5 stars. 52% for Tatanka. Again, I mean, this is we're slowly building up Tatanka to begin with. I mean, I think every time we've had him compete on a house show against any named wrestler that has any value, they don't want to do the job. So I think it'll be interesting to see just how long it takes for Tatanka to properly get over him. Guys not be upset about losing to him. Piper, strong promo, getting 90%. And everybody got a little bit of a boost there. And our main event got 2 stars, and of course that's the highest match crowd reaction final score there. Savage getting a good bump, and then Haku, another guy that we're probably not going to be renewing to a contract at least, gets hit pretty hard there. And our show overall is a 70, and we've lost popularity a little bit in North America and Europe, but gained it everywhere else. All right, so then our next show is on the 31st, so we're just going to have to go through a couple of these. Jeff Jones, who just recently entered the game, is now with Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And let's see, Terry Power. Okay, that doesn't really pertain to us. Okay, so we have some updates here, some news. So it looks like that's Brian Adams, who we know is Crush in this universe. So after months of struggle and limited progress, there's finally some light at the end of the tunnel for Brian Adams. Trainers and agents report that he's recently shown noticeable improvement across multiple areas. Significant change for someone who long pegged as a slow learner. It's finally starting to click. Said one coach, Brian may not be a natural, but he's figuring it out through sheer effort. General feeling is that Brian may never be the fastest to adapt, but the days of stalled development might be behind him. That's according to Dave Meltzer. They're using Chronic Brian Adams for 1992, which is interesting. Boy. Okay, so Michael Buffer facing backstage criticism over weak commentary performances. I would imagine this is in reference to WCW, maybe? I don't know. Growing concern regarding recent performance of Buffer at the commentary desk. He's doing comedy. He's not even ring announcing. Sources say Michael has struggled to find rhythm with broadcast partners, missed key storyline beats, and at times actively distracted from in-ring reaction with awkward delivery and off-topic commentary. Commentary is supposed to enhance the product, one agent noted. But right now it feels like Michael is pulling focus in the wrong ways. Talent have also voiced frustration, with several wrestlers feeling their characters and matches aren't being properly supported or framed. While no official changes have been announced, insiders suggest Michael could be quietly shuffled off of high-profile shows or replaced entirely if improvements aren't made soon. It's a tough break in a high-pressure role, but one that can't afford to be under-delivered. Where, does it say where he's unemployed? He's not even working anywhere. Okay. So he's really bad at doing nothing. He's nowhere. Interesting. All right, Scott Taylor, who is also injured, by the way. He is on our roster. So let's see what... I can't remember the injury. I don't think it's... Yeah, it's not as... It's a rib injury. It's not as severe as Shawn Michaels. But that's good to see there. Let's see. He said... So he's got a new physique. In surprising turn... That's got everyone in the locker room talking. Scott Taylor has undergone major personal transformation. It's all thanks to fitness. Multiple sources say Scott has caught the bug after dabbling with a new training program. He's now obsessed with strength training, nutrition, and overall health. The results are already showing, with his physique looking leaner, stronger, and more defined. He's become a gym regular, showing up early to train and even mentoring other talents. Some colleagues have been overheard saying it's like Scott flipped a switch. This isn't the same person from a few months ago. And then saying they might get a renewed push. I mean, I like Scott Taylor. He's out with a rib injury till July, so there's nothing I can really do about that. All right, what do we got here? We have I don't know what. Oh, this is Al. Al Snow opened up about the biggest influences on his acclaimed ability to sell inside the ring. The late Pak Sung Nam, widely regarded during his time as a master of making every move matter. When I was coming up, I watched how Pak could turn a simple arm drag into a moment people felt. He wasn't just reacting to the moves, he was telling a story every second. Okay, so this is just putting over a person for his selling. Coco Beware. He's increased his booking fee from $750 to $1,500. So I give the guy a push, and now he wants more money. Thanks, Coco. Appreciate that. All right, so that I think is really all that we have to learn about. We have to go to now the Garden, Madison Square Garden, and then we'll have one thing that I'm really looking forward to is the merchandise. I want to know who's driving the sales here, but let's go to the Garden first. We're going to start off with a 6-man tag where Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Big Boss Man, and Virgil are going to lose to the Nasty Boys and IRS, with IRS pinning Virgil with the write-off. Now, we've had on television IRS and DiBiase blaming Boss Man and Virgil, respectively, for their loss at the Royal Rumble, for neither one of them winning the world title. So this that should lead into matches on the house shows. And of course, you'll see here in a moment, Ted's doing something else on the show. So I figure we tie these guys in here, and then the win kind of rubs off on the Nasty Boys. Get a W, and try to build them back up again to being relevant. That goes about 10 minutes. Owen Hart is going to defeat Skinner with a missile dropkick. Again, 10 minutes. The house show matches are going to be longer in time, just to fill the time, because I don't want to have 15 matches on a house show. It might be arguably too many now, but I feel like these aren't crazy match times. The Mountie, who has been getting over, as I've noted before on television, is going to defeat Greg the Hammer Valentine in about 8 minutes with a pile driver. Intercontinental Championship Bret Hart will retain with a roll-up against Rick Martel. We're avoiding submissions on the house shows because that's what the Saturday Night's Main Event is for. So that's important. So 12 minutes there. About, midway through, maybe just before intermission, probably this be right before intermission, I guess. Sid Justice will retain the World Championship by defeating the Texas Tornado in about 6 minutes. Coming off of this, and now this was a match that was requested by Ted. But since they were both in the Rumble, I technically already met it, but I still booked it for here because I feel like they'd have a good match anyway. Roddy Piper is going to force DiBiase to pass out to the sleeper hold in about 12 minutes. Tag team titles, Legion of Doom retaining against the Natural Disasters in about 8 minutes. That will probably be the last time we do LOD and the Disasters on the house shows, just kind of get through the month, and then we'll shift accordingly. But one thing about LOD is I feel like they're a tough team to book for because they're so strong. So to get a tag team that matches them very well is, I think, going to be difficult, at least long term. So that's a little bit of inside the booker's mind. And then kind of a cool down match before our main event. Sergeant Slaughter defeating the Berserker with a clothesline in about 6 minutes. And then the main event, the Mega Powers defeating Jake the Snake Roberts and The Undertaker in 12 minutes when Hogan pins Taker with a leg drop. So there's that. Now, I don't know why, but it's not letting me start the show. Maybe I have to do one more day. Yeah, that's what I had to do. Okay. I could have sworn it said the date, but it doesn't matter. All right, so let's start the show. Let's get into it. That is the rundown for the Garden. All right. Well, we start off with a dud, so thanks New York for that. Crowd was pretty still into it, I would say. 61% to start the show, but they sucked. So thanks a lot. I mean, I guess I don't really know who the strong workers here would be in ring wise. Duggan and Bossman are good with the crowd for sure. Virgil's not great. IRS is kind of boring. And the Nasty Boys, they're okay, I guess. So I mean, I guess that's disappointing. Only a star for Owen and Skinner. Oh boy, 53%. Okay, again, I mean, Owen. I mean, they're both not really over, I guess. So that's disappointing. Half a star for the Mountie, defeating Greg the Hammer Valentine. 56%. Okay. And then 3 stars for Brett and Martel. 62% there. Okay, so at least we're getting some quality on the undercard. Negative full star. But, Sid gets some flack, but let me tell you, even if it's a negative star, I probably still would enjoy it. And judging by the crowd reaction, they were digging it as well. Holy mackerel. Star for Piper and DiBiase. Wow. But the crowd was hot for it. Okay. This is very interesting. Half a star, 77%. So crowd reaction was pretty good. I think we're just going to have to focus on crowd reaction because this isn't WCW. WCW, I think we'd be like, it needs to be 3.5 stars every time. But as long as we get a decent crowd reaction, that might be the victory. And of course, 55 negative half a star. All right. And the main event, 92% full star. Now, if you're not, I mean, I do have these house shows labeled as unimportant, but the crowd reactions are still pretty good. So maybe starting with February, I should change it to being some level of importance. Maybe that will change something. But yeah, so maybe that will even change the effort. Because I think on a few of these, the effort wasn't there for several of them. All right, well, 92%. So at least the main event was strong. That's not going to be a high-ranking show. 75%. All right, I lied. So the crowd overall, that was, I guess, good. 75%. Okay. All right, so we have now. This is what we want to see. Okay, merch sales. So that's other. Hulk Hogan, as you can see here, is leading the charge with over 156,000 sales in the month. Flair is at 92. That's surprising for being a heel. Savage there. Warrior, who is suspended until April, so he is not going to be on television until until probably WrestleMania, just like he had in real life. Piper's up there. Bulldog. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Piper's in the top 5. Then we have Bulldog, DiBiase, Sid, Jake, Perfect, Hawk, Andre, Animal, Brett, Elizabeth. Is there any surprising ones? Haku being 7,000 is surprising. Owens at 7. Beefcake hasn't been on TV. Tito's at 5. Duggan's only at 4. Crush is not even on TV. Okay, this is interesting. Who's absolutely nothing? Sean Waltman, an enhancement guy, has had 111. That's funny. Okay. Well, that Papa Shango's at 1,600. He's gotten quite a focus too. Maybe we don't have a good shirt for him or something. All right. Well, this is not a surprise. Hogan being the top is not too surprising. All right. So here are some news here. We have, obviously we've made some money here. Mel Phillips has left. Jimmy Snuka has left. So the Garden Show, which is 20,000 people's got 5,000. I think we have to change the importance for the house shows, for live events. That's probably impacting quite a bit. GWF is planning to build around Eddie Gilbert. Al Snow is also going to get a push. It would be a shame if I just took them both. Who knows? I do like Eddie Gilbert a lot. Doug Gilbert getting a push as well. Okay. Now let's look at our finances. Well, that's good. We have $48 million, and we were profitable of $35 million for January. So that's good. I think we're not in too much danger. Yeah, okay. Tickets almost 10 million for the month. Now, it will be interesting in February and March, for that matter, because we don't have pay-per-views. We have, Saturday Night's Main Event, but we won't have the pay-per-view revenue to kind of increase our profits or our revenue in general. So, all right, that will be interesting. Here we go. There's Saturday Night's Main Event, just a few days away, 7 days away. Our next episode, I will probably just do all three. Probably do all three of these. And then the episode after that, I guess we just have to probably do all four. So it might be a little while before another episode comes out. But I still enjoy doing these, even if it is between months before I get to sit down and properly do them. And hopefully you guys enjoy them as well. I'm going to change the importance of the live events. And I'm also not going to have live events on the same days as like television. So I might do like 1 or 2 in a week. That will impact our sales as well, or revenue. But all right, tell me what you guys are thinking thus far of the rebooking the WWF in 1992. And we will continue on towards Saturday Night's Main Event in the next episode.